Batman and Robin have always been a comic series based off of cooperation. Unfortunately, Robin has always been a figure that has been seen to be less recognized, and indeed this has been seen to be an analogy that has been brought up in politics for the Zimbabwe political tensions that have been recently on the rise due to the political elections that have recently happened. Indeed, Mr. Mugabe has won. Mr. Robert Mugabe has won the elections once again, while his prime minister, who is acting as Robin in this case, Mr. Tsvan Rani, was in fact running against him and unfortunately failed in the long term. However, when Batman and Robin are not together, each seem powerless simply because one another bring out the best in each other. However, unfortunately, in the same situation going on in Zimbabwe politics, unfortunately, it has led to the downfall of the country as a whole. And with the fate of Zimbabwe elections hanging in the balance, the Council on Foreign Relations was forced to ask the question: Will the challenging of Robert Mugabe's victory in the Zimbabwe election by the opposition prove to be successful? And the answer to this question is yes, for the following three reasons. First, because of the United States-Zimbabwe's unstable relationship currently. Secondly, because of the Anglican Church's backing the opposition. And lastly, because of the new political party that Americans are calling the new anti-Washington. But first, we have to look to the United States' relations with the country of Zimbabwe. And according to a Christian Science Monitor report dated August 6, 2013, the United States has actually found out of secret deals going on between the countries of Iran and that of Zimbabwe. Indeed, these two countries have been having secret uranium deals, and unfortunately the United States has seen this as an act of quote-unquote betrayal, as the New York Times of August 9th, 2013 states. However, when focusing on the Zimbabwe elections and how this could benefit the opposition, unfortunately this may have repercussions significantly for the country of Iran, but the United States was a main backing for for the more conservative party that has won the election, Mr. Mugabe's party, and indeed in the long term, the United States' backing added towards credibility for the party. And with the United States now acting against Mr. Mugabe, who had had these deals during his first count of elections and is now found out now during the elections, it's now going to prove to be hostile towards peace within the country. And therefore, since Mr. Mugabe has lost his backing with the United States, he has lost credibility, and in the long term, this is going to be detrimental and is going to be beneficial for the opposition. But secondly, we have to look to the Anglican Church, and indeed, according to a report done by the Diplomat, dated August 9th, 2013, the Anglican Church has been seen as targeted by a renegade of Mr. Mugabe, and indeed Anglican churches, Anglican missionary edifices, and other adoption agencies within the country of Zimbabwe are seen to be targeted in specific, and therefore the Anglican Church is seeing itself at a state of backing the opposition, which has added to a centralization of the opposition's power. Indeed, according to the Pew Global Research poll dated just yesterday, they state that the centralization has actually had major effects simply because the Anglican Church has a significant backing within the country of Zimbabwe, as it's a predominantly Anglican and Christian society, and therefore it works in the benefit of the opposition, as the Anglican Church is now turning its back to Mr. Mugabe. But lastly, we have to understand that the new political party now on the rise in Zimbabwe, which the United States which American media are calling the new anti-Washington party, are actually on the rise. Indeed, according to a report done by the Huffington Post, dated August 8th, 2013, this anti-American party, or anti-Washington party, is seeing itself to be beneficial for the opposition simply because it's looking to reestablish the coalition. However, if in fact the coalition between Mr. Barney and Mr. Mugabe is not reestablished as Batman and Robin and Prime Minister and President, clearly the opposition is not only going to allow the Prime Minister to leave, but also the President himself. Indeed, the opposition, this organization has actually led to the downfall of centralization within within Mr. Mugabe's party, and therefore even though it's early after the elections, clearly many have turned their back on the country of on Mr. Mugabe's back, simply because he hasn't had the backing due to new stories being uncovered now more than ever, and therefore he needs to centralize his abilities now before the opposition is on the rise. So, when re-examining today's question, will the challenging of Mr. Robert Mugabe's victory in Zimbabwe by the opposition prove to be successful? The answer to this question is yes, for the three reasons that we've discussed. First, because of the United States' instability with Zimbabwe's president and other such relations. Secondly, because of the United States, or rather, because Mr. Zimbabwe, or secondly, because of the Anglican Church's backing towards the opposition, and lastly, because of the anti-American party, anti-Washington party now on the rise. And therefore, Batman and Robin may not be on the same page, but if they don't work together, they will clearly never be successful.